Dr. Fabrice and Mr. William PhD for the first keynote session. I would now like to invite our moderator, Mr. Rio Sutoyo Eskom MSc, to introduce our honorable keynote speaker for the next session, Mr. Only. Please give him a warm applause.
Now it's time for us to welcome our keynote speaker number 2. This special guest comes from industry. His name is Mr. Only. Mr. Only is the CEO and CTO of GDP Labs and also the CTO of GDP Venture. This talk will focus on the industry perspective from idea, strategy, and also execution of practical AI. Mr. Only will also talk about how to grow AI industry in Indonesia, which is by combining the power of the government, the industry, and also the academics. So before we start, please relax and watch the introduction video of Mr. Only. Please give a round of applause for Mr. Only.
Thank you. Good morning. I think I'm the only one from the industry from this talk, right? So obviously it's slightly different. So I just want to thank you for having me here. And I think good morning to everybody also. Professor Widodo, Budiharto, and also Dr. Alexander Agung, and also Gunawan, Pak Jarod, and Professor Fabrice. I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name. Okay. So I'm going to share with you in terms of the industry perspective. Since for the past few years, almost every day we heard about AI, machine learning, and deep learning. And all of you know about it, but in reality, a lot of people in the industry still do not understand this. Since they do not understand this, they do not appreciate this, and they are not going to invest in it. So I believe we are one of the few companies that actually recognize the importance of it. I always view this AI since the latest breakthrough for the past 10 years in deep learning. This is like, I think it reminds me like how the phone started a century ago, PC started about 30 years ago, as well as internet consumer about 20 years ago. I think it has the building block to change and transform almost every industry. Okay? So, and I just want to introduce myself. I have a dual role, CTO group of GDP Venture. As you can see, basically we are investor. We invest, to be honest with you, we invest so many companies now, I don't even know some of them anymore, right? Because I only focus on the deep tech side, right? We invest globally. And also I have another role that I focus on GDP Labs, which is one of the company on the GDP Venture. We have in 5 cities. The reason that we are in 5 cities is because we go where the talents are. Because as you know, we're having a shortage of talent in this space. So anyway, like I said, in our industry, a lot of people still don't understand what AI. Unlike you guys, you know what it is, right? So for them, it could be just automated. If you look how the Coca-Cola created their bottle, their can, all those things, those are very automated, right? From robot, the way they manufacture, they can make these millions in days, within a day, right? And then the other thing is, one of my hobbies actually, chess. One of the former world champion, Garry Kasparov, always said that some people call it Kasparov rule. I think it's more powerful, the combination of machine and grandmaster, as long as the process is correct, rather than the best player and the best machine, but the communication and the process is broken. Right? So that's kind of augmented intelligence and AI today, as we know it, like the previous talk, mostly a kind of narrow focus AI is very good, could diagnose all those kind of things, even achieve super intelligent like Go and chess. However, sometimes, even as smart as they are, a lot of time, the 5-year-old still could beat them in other field, right? I always view this like a calculator. It's very good in one thing and only one thing, but not for general purpose. So I think this is where we are. I remember PC, about when it was beginning, it took off because of one thing, right? Because of spreadsheet, and then expand to word processor, slides, graphics, design, video as we know it today. So I believe AI will be like this. It always go through from vertical after vertical before it generalizes. Now, like I said, AI is very, very hard. You know, you all here in this room are expert, but in the industry, we don't have this expertise. I believe this expertise now, because the recent breakthrough, usually it resides in the universities. Right? We engineers takes time to learn this kind of thing. For all of you, because you're dealing with this, you kind of take every day, you take it for granted by now, but not the industry. Okay? Like for example, people always ask me about, hey, what is AI? What is the relationship between machine learning and deep learning? So I just give them this one picture like this. You know, like I always say, for these non-technical people, I said, think about AI is like the grandparent. And then machine learning is the child, and deep learning is the grandchildren. Then they can understand that, right? The relation between this thing and how it applies. Until actually, a lot of these people don't even realize they are actually get the benefit of AI today when they use their smartphone from autocorrect, autocomplete, as well as when they use their Facebook or Google search. Those are AI in action in the background. They just didn't realize it, right? Now, what it is make it so hard? I have a master and bachelor degree in computer science with minor in mathematics, right? When the first time I saw deep learning, I took class from Dr. Andrew Ng class. I think like millions of people do that, right? So it become useful, that mathematics background. A lot of people are struggling just to learn computer science, let alone about statistics and mathematics. In fact, we in computer, the software engineering is actually, we are having a shortage in terms of skill. Right? This is one of the key reasons why I opened in 5 offices. Because if you notice, Jakarta because we have Binus University or UI, Bandung because we have ITB, Jogja because we have UGM, Surabaya because we have ITS and STTS and other university, right? So there are reasons with that, and so far for the past 6 years, when I opened this company, I only can get like only about 150 people, 80% of our engineers. The acceptance rate is only 26%, right? Those are for regular software engineers. When it comes to data scientists and AI engineers, the acceptance rate is about less than 10%, right? And that's why I give regular talk in the university mostly for recruiting purpose and also express what we need from the industry, what we are looking for, things like that. Now, as you can see, this is I take it from Kaggle. And I'm sure you guys are familiar with this, right? If you look, they are about, it's increasing over 100 now. I think last year even less than 100. Right now, this is global numbers, by the way. Not only, obviously, Indonesia has a lot less than this, right? So you all know about these numbers. Now, the other thing that makes things worse is this. We in the industry, a lot of us are actually mostly engineers, not scientists, not researchers like you guys. When we deal with product to serve millions of users, there are a lot of other things. Most of the AI, machine learning, deep learning code, in terms of the product that we ship to our customers, usually between 5 to 15%, depending on the nature of your product, right? Now, this is a matrix 9 by 11, so it's about 99. I just put in alphabetical order. I sent email to my engineer, hey, put all the technology that you guys know. And this is not all. I just put this because it only fit one slide, actually much more than this. And each of these technology actually has multiple versions. So after this, the combination become explosive, right? And some of this, like Angular, Moodle, and all this open source, it has expiration date. Some of them like 18 months, some of them every 6 months. So you can imagine the difficulty for us just to keep up with what's going on, right? So sometimes I feel sorry for the young students who enter the school, because where should they begin? Right? I have 2 children. Both of them actually in computer business too. And they're also struggling with this thing, right? But a lot of my engineers with this, so when we get a new employee, a new engineer, we usually give onboarding very focused, and hey, you focus on this thing. We mentor them every step of the way for the first year, basically, right? So this is next to impossible to keep up by yourself. It should be a team of people to manage this front-end, back-end, mobile, cloud, infrastructure, security, networking, and so on. Okay? Now you understand our challenge here. And a lot of people said, yeah, now I do understand the importance of AI and deep learning and all this kind of stuff, but unfortunately my basic engineering is still not ready yet, right? Because those are the prerequisites. If your foundation and infrastructure is not ready, forget about this advanced technology that's coming in. Now, how do we solve this problem? At least in our company, right? The one that you saw on this video, that's just a subset of it, right? So first, we start early. So that means if we provide internship, if somebody like even the second year, the third year, and the final year, we provide even internship for them. And we aggressively hire the software engineers and AI talent. And then we share best practices. We even give a talk how to do a coding interview. Like I said, our passing rate regular engineer 26% and AI is less than 10%. We actually give a talk. This is what you need to practice and so on. We train them basically because we want to make sure they pass this test. Otherwise, it's even worse. Okay? This is the other thing. We usually send about 20 engineers. By Indonesian standard, even by US standard, it's quite expensive because every time we send an engineer abroad to conference like NIPS, ICL, all those kind of conferences, world-class conferences like KDD that I just sent in London last week. I sent a couple of my engineers for each major conference like this. It costs us about up to $10,000 per person. Okay? So as a result, if you think per person up to 10,000 conference, I have to send tens of my engineers every year. That's a lot of money. However, if you distribute this throughout hundreds of engineers, suddenly that cost kind of evenly distributed is not that expensive. We also have agenda also we want to help Indonesia to grow as a country. We also share these best practices and this conference material to various universities because not every university can afford to send to all these things to learn what's the latest algorithm and finding, right? And the other thing also, we also fund research and sponsor AI events. And then this is the other thing. We built our AI team, but 2 years ago, actually, I reorganized my organization. I just said, here's the AI team to meet all our internal group needs. Right? For example, our sister company BCA, one of the largest private bank in Indonesia, they are currently having this AI initiative. They have like over 100 projects for AI related alone to transform the company in fintech to adopt this kind of technology, right? So we grow organically, we train them, we hire them. And then the other thing, we do partnership, because no matter what we do, we know we cannot do this alone, and also through investment, right? Not only Indonesia, but these are some of the countries that we talk to. Okay, so we actually invest this globally, not only in Indonesia. Now, when we invest in AI startup, usually most of them are researchers. Many of them are very good with algorithms, but they are not as good as when it comes to business. And because they are more scientists than business people. So usually we give them business, we give them money, and also we also provide other things from sales, marketing, management, legal, and so on, to help them to give time for them to build a product as well as build a team, make sure they are successful. And this is how, because right now, as you know, in Indonesia, a lot of foreign investors coming in. There are a lot of kind of money now in Indonesia, people who are willing to give you money. So money is everywhere now for the past 5 years in Indonesia. However, the thing that we provide is very unique. Not only in addition to money, but we also provide this other thing. Now, how do we translate this from this earlier slide? So these are some of the company. If you look on the the other end, these are so far I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These are the 7 AI companies that we invested so far. We only got 7, and we're still looking for more. Okay. Now let's go through this real quick. This is from Singapore and US and China, Tsinghua. Since you guys are from academia, you should be familiar with the csranking.org, right? If you look for the past 10 years, csranking.org, number 1 for AI university is CMU, Carnegie Mellon University. And number 2 is Tsinghua. However, in the recent event, a lot of industry, a lot of big companies start poaching professors from CMU. They start losing some of their key researchers because those researchers move to the industry. If you look, csranking.org, just 2018 for AI only, Tsinghua is actually number 1. Right? So this particular company, some of their advisors are actually from Tsinghua University. So this is obviously a world-class company that we are investing. Some of you might know this guy, actually from local UI. His expertise is actually in computer vision and computer graphics and image processing, so it lends that background to deep learning easily. And he's a lecturer in one of the top universities in Indonesia, right? So we focus on this. The reason that why we invest globally because of the world-class people, and why invest locally, because we need local knowledge. Like for example, he's building car recognition, like for example, because there's a certain model only, we only have this in Indonesia, right? This one, you know, the co-founder, Adam from Harvard and Stanford, and the co-founder, like mentioned from earlier talk, from Jan LeCun himself. So again, we are looking for a world-class company that can help our company as well as Indonesia. So they focus on facial recognition, and their vision is they want to go to developing countries like Indonesia and Africa to give identity for billions of people. And this one is organic. Georgia Tech, if you look, currently they are about, I think, the top 10 AI university in the world now, based on CS ranking. So this is, we build this organically. And this one, 3 graduate students that focus on machine learning. They focus on OCR. As you know, in the world today, even in the US, there's still tons of paperwork, especially in Indonesia. It's just countless of, you know, many decades ago, people thought with computer they should be less. Actually, HP could sell more printers than ever because people print more because it's so easy now. And here, even the company want to digitize things, everything digital, you still cannot do it here because government regulation like accounting, you need proof of receipt, all those kind of stuff is still unavoidable. So OCR is one of those low tech of the high tech, but this is practical usage. Forget about, you know, advanced deep learning. They're also using deep learning too. But this is one of those things that very practical use is actually useful for daily use for most company. This is another one. Again, this is from top local university in Indonesia, ITB. Some of you recognize them. Ayu and Daisy, they got their PhD from Japan. One is actually expert in NLP, the other one expert in speech. So if you start looking from Six Estate, from Element Inc., Diligent, Convergent, and this, you start seeing how this AI company actually complementary. Some of them doing just computer vision, some of them doing NLP, some of them doing speech, right? So this is by design. When we select all these companies, they should be complementary, right? And this guy also very interesting. I think he won the best award at KDD in 2014. He got into the US to CMU, and he got to US through called Einstein visa or Genius visa. So he focused on the cryptocurrency, blockchain. Now, in addition to that, if you look, we talk about the AI company. This is some of the example of, in the US, like Goldman Sachs, I believe this is like over a century old company, right? Now, I think about 30% of their employees are engineers. They just hire AI expert from CMU, also from Google, right? If you look, you guys know about the benefit this automation and being intelligent like this. And then here's another example from AT&T and EY. Again, the benefit of all of this, from the automation and AI, deep learning, and things like this. And for us, Kaskus, this is a local company for those of you who are not from Indonesia. The one that read, this is a standard recommendation system, but it goes a long way. I think from you guys' point of view, from algorithm point of view is not that challenging, but this is one of those things that actually very effective. And then this one also for selling the car online. They can upload the picture, they can automatically recognize the color, the manufacturer, the model, plate number, and so on, even recommend the pricing. This is also for HR. So a lot of this practical day-to-day stuff that you just apply AI to transform this. This kind of remind me like back from the PC application, native application of PC, you just transform it and run on the browser. It makes a big difference already. Now, it comes to you guys. What do we need from you guys? Right? Now, if you look, this is one of the father, this guy is considered one of the father of Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley now is over 70 years old, right? This is where company like Google, Silicon Graphics, Yahoo were born, right? Facebook was there. All these global company that we also use globally actually born in Silicon Valley. And if you trace, how could that happen? We could trace because of this guy. Back then, he has this seemingly simple concept that he proposed to his school, Stanford. Hey, we should allow our professors to consult and open a startup. That's the beginning of the Silicon Valley. And his two students that started this, William Hewlett and David Packard, that we know it as Hewlett-Packard Company now. This guy was ahead of his time, obviously. Right now, if you look in Silicon Valley, we have Stanford, we have Berkeley, Santa Clara University, San Jose University, and tons of colleges there. Right? So a lot of professors there actually, when they take a leave, like he take a leave from France, they actually go to work for a company for a summer or a year and then return to the school. So they can get a feel about balancing what the theoretical as well as being practical, actually solving the real problem. So all your valuable knowledge, your valuable research actually contribute to the society, not only archived in research paper. Okay? Now, this is one example. This is one of the report. Since they have been doing this is, in our finance, it created 2.7 trillion in revenue, not to mention millions of jobs they created. Just to give you perspective, what $2.7 trillion mean. If I recall correctly, for Indonesian GDP, in 2017, the GDP was 1 trillion. So this is twice, 2.7 times bigger than Indonesian GDP. Through all this, how many years they got start doing this in Silicon Valley and Stanford. Here is that Stanford's on the west coast, California. Now let's move to the east coast, Boston, Massachusetts, where the home of MIT and Harvard, right? This is from MIT alone. I just attended an MIT competition last couple of weeks ago in Bangkok. And look, they contributed 1.9 trillion. So if you combine this just from these two schools alone, you're talking about 4.6 trillion. That's discounting. We have not talked about Harvard. We have not talked about the other Ivy League school like Berkeley, right? You're talking about potentially tens of trillion here, right? So that's the combination of academic and industry. Now you guys know about this, right? Because in industry, they don't recognize these people, right? These are the three inventors of deep learning plus Dr. Andrew Ng from Jan LeCun, Jeff Hinton, and Joshua Bengio. I think two of them are from France. Montreal. Yeah, but this guy is born in France, right? Yeah. So anyway, These are all our godfathers in AI. And I think this guy has the most students in the world now because of the Coursera and YouTube and Stanford, the video. I make this requirement all my engineers to watch all his deep learning.ai video, 5 of them on Coursera. That's a requirement. Right? And of course, your share book also now become classic now. Right? I think he wrote this with co-author with Ian Goodman, right? Yeah. Okay? So what do we need from you? Right? So teach AI talent because some of the school in Indonesia, I don't believe some of them. Sometimes my company hosted university students, so they know how we work, right? Some of them actually still don't know AI. So obviously, some school, obviously, Venus is ahead than most university in Indonesia, but some university in Indonesia still do not teach AI class. Right? So we need that, right? Focus in Bahasa Indonesia. This is one of the key reasons why we invest international company as well as domestic, because we need, it makes sense. Bahasa Indonesia should be Indonesian that can create the best of it, right? Now, long-term research, not only short-term, and obviously collaboration, and then last but not least, like that father of Silicon Valley, because you have this such a valuable knowledge that make sure you share with others. Now, this is the third component. If you look for the since World War II, basically, right? Actually, the Professor Frederick was involved during World War II. After World War II, he went back to Stanford to teach. Government played a key role during World War II, during Korean War, this I'm talking about US government, and during Vietnam War, during Cold War. A lot of technology advances happened there because this is a matter of life and death. So they used everything they could, they used all the government money, they used the government resources, they went to the university, the best brain in the country, they could win the war. Okay? So this is one of those things that, now, if you look back for the past 60 years, some of you are still young, you might not even know, mini computer and workstation industry existed before, but they died. Right? This is another thing where the nature of our business, right? Either you die or you innovate. You have to keep learning. Right? I'm 59 years old now. I have a friend about the same age, same education, but he chose lifestyle like weekend and holiday, just enjoy life rather than updating his knowledge. Now he's out of job because he was still stuck at the workstation day, because that's how I grew up. I grew up in workstation and PC day. Many of you that young, you grew up in social networking day, right? The internet day. So there are a lot of interesting things from this single picture, right? This is different from most industry. Every 6 months, every year. In fact, I subscribe, like many of you, I subscribe to archive.org, right? Every day I received it. Oh my God! Every day there's always new algorithm, new paper. How could this happen? This is like they are like printing code every day. Come up with new algorithm. It's amazing, right? And you just need to keep up with this. And right now, that's why I said during the earlier, building product is becoming more and more complex. Back then, I remember if I knew C program, I don't know no PC, I'm done. Just CLI. Now I have to worry about GUI, I have to worry about browser, I have to worry about cloud, about internet, big data, mobile, and all of this stuff. right? It's next to impossible a single person to know all of this, right? I'm lucky because I grew up with all these things. When this happened, I was part of it. So I can learn as, like now I'm catching up with deep learning, for example, but many people didn't have the benefit like me. Right? So, in any case, talk about the fourth industrial revolution. We talk about from steam engine, electric, computer and communication, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this started by 2011 in Germany, and now many countries follow, including Indonesia. I got this source from one of the government Indonesia agency. If you look, AI is there as part of government program. Okay, like in China, they declare this AI is one of their strategic direction as a country, not only for commercial industry but as well as for military usage. Okay, India does the same. Many countries follow on this thing. Like Chinese government, they even have this BRI initiative, Belt and Road Initiative, basically a digital of Silk Road. So that's why for the Indonesia, now you know why so many Chinese coming Indonesia, like JD, Alibaba and all those companies, and Baidu, because that's part of their government program. BRI, the Silk Road, cross Southeast Asian nation, and Indonesia is one of them. Okay. Now, I think this is my last slide. I do believe if we follow this for the past 60 years development in our industry, if you want to do innovation at scale, not only just small thing, but takes nation, not only nationwide, but also globally, it has to work between these three organizations. Concerted effort. You cannot just academia alone, or industry alone, or government alone, because each of these organizations has its own DNA. Right? We industry, there are certain things we just take it for granted. You guys in academia, there are certain things you take it for granted. Same thing with government. So we need to partner and work together in this thing. So it will be good for everybody, especially after the internet time. Basically now we are living in the borderless thing, rather than just isolated one nation. Okay, thank you.
Thank you to Mr. Only for great presentation about innovation in industry, in artificial intelligence subjects. Now we will come for any question from the audience about the topics that are already presented by Mr. Only. Yeah, Owen.
Thank you. My name is Pawan again. I'm from Venus AI R&D Center, AI R&D Center. Okay. So what I see is that actually university in Indonesia do teach AI, but general AI. So what I want to ask is whether what you mean to teach AI in university is actually meaning deep learning or not. Yeah.
Okay, that's a good question. Actually, usually when I interview candidates from fresh graduate, I usually look for fundamental, right? Forget a minute about AI, machine learning, deep learning. Usually, it's not fair for me to interview them technical question that they have not learned in the school, right? So usually I focus on the basic fundamental stuff that I expect any university that teaches computer scientists now, like a simple thing like data structure, algorithms, right? All of this kind of stuff, and I want to make sure they actually, and you'll be surprised. You know, I've been living in the US for 30 years. I just returned to Indonesia about 7 years ago. 7 years ago, one of the reasons that there was no intention for me to create GDP labs or my boss to to create GDP lab because there was no, back then we didn't even have this idea until I discovered after returning to Indonesia the first 6 months how poor the interview process, how poor the students that claim to have graduated with bachelor degree, they don't understand a simple thing like factorial, for example, right? Recursion. And then when you talk, you ask them, some of them understand the theory, but when you actually ask them to write code, a lot of them have failed, right? That's how bad it was back then for me. This is why I said, my boss said, well, I think you should create this GDP lab, which 80% of are just engineers. Right? So back to your question about this. I want to make sure the school, specific to AI, they start teaching fundamental stuff. When 30 plus years ago, when I was in school, I still remember my first AI classes, I still used Lisp back then. Maybe not many of you don't even know yet anymore now. I still use Prolog back then, right? I still alpha, beta, all those kind of algorithm, the basic stuff that's still useful today. They should teach, that's the way you guys teaching fundamental data structure and algorithms today, right? Like sorting, hashing, all those kind of stuff. Same thing with AI. And of course nowadays, you cannot avoid deep learning, right? Once you understand the fundamental of it, then you start teaching the deep learning. And actually after a while, if you have enough, basic calculus and linear algebra, deep learning should not be an issue with the right. Because right now, like he said, it become mature now, right? And it become black box. In fact, if you use Keras and all this kind of stuff, it's so simple. Actually, it's amazing when you write this code in Python. My engineer said, most of the code I write, unlike the other program, mostly about 100, 200 line of code. Because a lot of those things are like built in already, like a black box. Like me, a lot of people take it for granted when I call cosine function or sine function. Yes, it's one line function call, but they didn't know what's behind under this, right? Same thing. Because every day, if you look, the development from Microsoft Azure, AWS, and Google Cloud Platform, every month they keep releasing how to make it easy, right? From TensorFlow to Keras, right? From Keras now they have AutoML every time. And suddenly, I'm hoping for the next few years, with this progress, suddenly AI programming, deep learning is no longer as mysterious as today. Right? So I expect, if you look back, iPhone and Android about 10, 11 years ago by now. Right? So what that means is, the first 2 years we have shortage, but after 5 years, yeah, to find great mobile programmers, engine is still difficult, but not as difficult as the first 2 years. Because right now, for example, Stanford work together with Apple engineers every quarter. They teach iPhone programming there. From Objective-C, I assume they use Swift now because of this. So suddenly, this talent, I expect any emerging technology will go through this transition, right? And then after a while, so what? For me, it's just another math function. Or this is, or in this case, a deep learning function. Whatever you come up next, deep learning plus down the road, whoever asked that question before, right? So my point again, today deep learning, CNN, all this kind of stuff will be a foundation building block for the future. I think that's the reason that I am investing my personal time, my company money, and all this investment, because I believe, again, this learning breakthrough is like the beginning of PC. We have to be there, and then not only waiting for some invention, we should be part of it to make that happen. Okay.
Is that answer? Okay. Is there any more question? Okay.
Oh. Yeah.
When I look at all the companies that you are investing in,
Yes. Okay. I'm going to repeat this question. He said, because his previous talk about medical imaging stuff, he said he didn't see any medical related stuff. Actually, he made this observation, a very good observation, and you're right. The reason that I'm not looking for medical thing is because the nature, my company, the company that I work for Indonesian, they know this company. This is part of Jarum Group, which is one of the largest conglomerate here, and we don't have medical related business. We do have fintech, we have media, we have consumer good, drink, and so on. And most of this investment actually, there are multiple purposes for me. One is I make a strategic investment. What that means is every company that invests, that company should be able to help our sister company to apply AI. Since we don't have any like hospital or medical related company, so I don't look for it. Okay, so that's actually good observation. So right now, because we are so busy, like I said, I apply all these 7 companies to our sister company. We still don't have enough AI engineers to help them. So we are still having shortage on this one. So if Binus or any local company or even international company, you create startup AI, please feel free to contact me. Because we are still aggressively investing in this area. I believe in Indonesia, we might be one of the, has the most AI company portfolio. Okay? Any other question? Yes.
Okay, my name is Arif from AI Analysis Center as well. So, in your presentation, you pointed that the importance of the link between academia, industry, and government. And based on the previous section, we know that one of the roadblocks in the AI is the computational power, the resources. What do you think, in your opinion, the importance of the community between universities, industry that can share the computational power? Because we in AI Center now we are accepting several requests from our colleagues in terms of the power usage, and at some point we kind of happening the shortage of the computational power, and I think the community here is very important to grow the AI technology. And the second question is about the regulation from government. Do you think our government in Indonesia very aware about the AI and they give the effort in making the regulation in AI?
Okay, let me answer the second question again about government regulation in AI. I'm not aware of any government regulation in AI yet at this point. I know they have some regulation of cryptocurrency. They relaxed it in recent months or recent weeks. So for the government side, I do not know, but our group is pretty close with the Pak Rudi. For those of you not Indonesian, Mr. Rudi is our Minister for Communication and Computer Stuff. So we are in constant communication. In fact, we're going to have event in November. We're going to invite him. I'm going to give similar talk about this. So obviously, he and his staff will familiar with this. Now, regardless, your first question is the computing power. I was just discussing with him earlier about this. If you look today, the de facto standard is we just use GPU, right? In fact, there are some Intel CPU has some extension for this, right? So you don't always have to have GPU, right? If you trace back, GPU actually when NVIDIA started, they started as a 3D graphics company, right? Now with this advance of deep learning, the popularity and so on, a lot of company, you know, the one that most obvious one is Google creating TPU. Chinese company, I evaluated several startups globally from Europe, Asia, as well as the US. They are creating just like TPU-like, but this is their own, just design, not for the 3D graphics or image processing, but design for deep learning, right? I think for the next few years, there will be a lot of exciting things because GPU might not be the most optimal or the most economic to do deep learning in terms of pricing as well as the power usage and things like that. Right now, like he said, one of the things we try to save is use the transfer learning and we try to select specific scenario, not try to general purpose everything, so we can save in terms of this computation. And also recently Google also, I believe, released the TensorFlow Lite just for low cost device after the training, all those kind of things. So we keep watching this. It is certainly one of the costs for us is this, right? Sometimes we kind of decide, oh well, should I use the cloud like AWS, or we should buy our own GPU? So we make a judgment call on that depending the need. So there are times we use the public cloud, there are times we just buy them, right? A few months ago, there was shortage because of the Bitcoin thing. We couldn't even, we were willing to buy, we couldn't, but now I think back to normal now. So we actually use a mix depending on your usage scenario. So we try, so far, that's not really our number one issue though, but still is a concern in the long term. Yes?
Thank you for the time. First of all, my name is Kabil Mokhtar from Shakwala University, Aceh, as a researcher and also AI research scientist at Northlands, Jakarta. So thank you for the very interesting topic, and my question is very simple. From the academia perspective, how do you see the opportunity for the researcher and lecturer from other university, for like us, because we are far away from Capital City, to collaborate in industry? Because we have two problems. First is somehow less quality of students, and the infrastructure of research center is not as good as university in Capital City. Maybe you have some advice or other things. Thank you.
Is your university part of the government? This is not a private university, right? So this is one of the things. I believe like UI, ITB, for some of you who are not Indonesian, those are the two top university in Indonesia. Usually they have their own GPU already. They're actually pretty well. In fact, when they created their own startup sometime, they started using that GPU and then eventually they buy their own, right? So this is one of those things for your next fiscal year budget, you should require that as part of your IT spending on that. That's one thing you can do. That's for mid-term and long-term. For the immediate one, usually companies like AWS, Microsoft Azure, as well as Google Cloud Platform, they do have university program where it's significantly lower. In fact, if you do some research, I believe Google Cloud also could even give you for free if you meet their criteria. So all those little things, you can do this, you know, there's no silver bullet, you just have to do multiple things, right? And then the other thing, like I said, for teaching purpose, like student, just use a small sample and things like that, because you don't always need GPU all the time, right? Especially for student purpose, unless you're doing some more serious research like that, until you get your funding from the government. And in terms of working with the industry, so you need to find, like his observation, if you're doing medical research, then you should start looking for big company or conglomerate that has hospital, for example, right? Then you should start proposing, hey, this is what I can do for you with my research. And for us, we're in the fintech and media, in the e-commerce business mostly. We also open if you have some ideas. So you should target your industry, and you should know who is who in that thing. Okay?
Okay, thank you for all of the question. Once again, let's give round of applause for Mr. Only. And now we are welcoming Dr. Alex to give token of appreciation for Mr. Only. Please, the documentation, be ready.
Okay, thank you Mr. Only and Mr. Yosutoyo for the second keynote session. Ladies and gentlemen, after this we will have lunch and break time for 2 hours. Please be noted that after lunch we are going to have 2 parallel sessions. For those who are participating in the first parallel session, after lunch break you may proceed to your presentation room. The first parallel session will be started at 1:30 p.m. and second parallel session will be started after the coffee break at 3:30 p.m. And also, if you would like to do Friday prayer, you may go to the basement.
Before we are leaving for lunch, I would like to inform you that the committees have prepared a back wall of ICCICI 2018. If you want to take a photos with the back wall, you may come to the room 309 on the 3rd floor. So now I would like to invite all the participants and committees to come to the stage to take a group photo.